About Jim Gavin owing money to a tenant before he was confirmed as the party's presidential candidate. The former Dublin manager withdrew from the race yesterday after it emerged he owed a former tenant €3,300 in overpaid rent. Questions have been asked about the vetting process within the party. Fianna Fáil TD Padraig O'Sullivan says this shouldn't have been a surprise.
So that goes back to the 12th of September, and if I, a lowly backbencher, had wind of that at that point in time, not knowing the full details now, if I be truthful, but if I had managed to get that information, then I don't understand why the machine at the party weren't aware of it.
Mortgage interest relief is to be extended for another year before being phased out in 2027. The move will benefit more than 60,000 householders in tomorrow's budget. VAT cuts for the hospitality sector, construction of new apartments and electricity are also expected. Our political correspondent Sean Defoe says much of the detail is still being finalised.
Still a lot of negotiation going on, much later than is usual. I mean, they'd want to be getting it to the printers relatively quickly. You know, usually always the social protection budget goes as the very last thing because they're digging on the social welfare rates and seeing what more they can do. But there's several departments that haven't closed off their ledger yet, including housing and health, social protection and the Department of Children, all negotiating well into the evening.
And the cycling team, which features British rider Chris Froome, will drop Israel from its name from next season. Israel Premier Tech say they've been through an incredibly difficult period with pro-Palestinian protests targeting recent events, including last month's Vuelta a España. A statement says they're moving away from their Israeli identity in order to secure the future of the team. And that's your news for now.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. There's no place like a Christmas market with Ryanair's ho-ho-ho fares to Budapest, Prague or Vienna.
Cloudy with outbreaks of rain and drizzle, moderate to fresh southwesterly winds, quite mild tonight with lowest temperatures of 11 to 14 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With UPMC Orthopaedic Care. When things don't move, rotate or bend like they used to, choose us to help you get back in action.
This is News Talk.
You're very welcome along. It is Monday's Off the Ball, off the back of an interesting weekend in the Premier League just before the international break. We've got Arsenal, who were effectively Real Sociedad's team of 5 years ago, sitting top of the league, a point clear, where just a week ago they were 5 behind Liverpool. But Liverpool since have lost 3 games in a row. It's the first time it's happened for Arne Slot in his coaching career. Are they in mini crisis going into the international break? Certainly wasn't a good run for Leinster when they went on their tour of South Africa. They came back with just 1 point, while Munster have picked up 9 under Clayton McMillan in his first 2 games in charge. Mike Sherry, Fiona Hayes going to be with me on the football show. We will have John Bruin to break down all of the weekend's league before we get into a week of Ireland talk with the international break. And also James Pearce is going to be with us to talk about what's been going wrong for Liverpool, or what he feels are Arne Slot's most difficult challenges of his coaching career so far. Mick McCarthy is here with me in studio. How are you, Mick?
Good evening, William.
And Sean Hussey, having his first time with us on the Newsround. How are you, Sean? Welcome aboard.
Thanks, lads. Good evening, everyone.
Sean was at the epic Dublin semi-finals yesterday, where Coola in the All-Ireland club were knocked out as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Mick, bit of news from Kilkenny on Friday before we start.
Was there? Rain, storms, that kind of stuff.
I was here working.
Sideways rain.
You were there.
I was. Yeah, we picked up our I think 4th consecutive Sports Programme of the Year awards at the IMRO Radio Awards, which was great, and we're all very grateful and humbled by the whole thing. But I think the big news was a first Sports Presenter of the Year award for one Owen Sheehan, who took his award off to Kerry and isn't here tonight.
I was going to say, before anyone tries to claim this is something to do with him being at the IMROs or me claiming the reason I'm here is because he overpartied or whatever, Owen had always planned to be in Kerry today, I believe.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
This was a long-standing thing. There was nothing to do with the IMROs. He's off today. He's also while he's down there on a day off doing an interview that we'll hear tomorrow night in the show.
It's the best way to use your day off.
Exactly, yeah. So what a pro, and probably why he's Sports Broadcaster of the Year. But yeah, there you go. So it was, as so often happens, there was a couple of News Talk presenters up against each other in this award, and all of them were sitting at the table, with me being between the 4 of them actually. So it was John Duggan, Nathan, Murphy, Ger, then me, who wasn't nominated for sure, and then Owen. And Owen got the gold gong, Nathan silver, John bronze, and Ger out in the ether somewhere.
Yeah, it's a nice little departing gift for Nathan Murphy. Did Nathan Murphy jump up on the stage John Terry's side when Today FM got Station of the Year?
Do you know, actually, did he? I'm going to look at Emma here now. I think he was probably playing it a bit cool. He was playing the ultimate sort of like politician, sort of wandering around shaking hands with Today FM people over the course of the night. No, but he's not listening. It's fine.
It's fine. He's on holidays.
One of the great nights. There was some. I have to say, it's one of those things that it's brilliant to bring a kind of diverse and disparate radio community together one night a year and enjoy it. Like there was a lot of like wild cheering from other organisations as well. I have to say, I think the rowdiest group, I'm going to put this out there, Galway Bay FM, who, fair play to them, won the award for Sports Story of the Year for the day we beat the Dubs, which I remember having unbelievable commentary of that game of when Galway beat Dublin in 2024. So they won for that, but there was definitely people up on the table celebrating before Ollie Turner came up and got the award, and we were, it was great to see, I have to say. Yeah, no, it was one of those viral moments of last summer when Ollie was doing the commentary the last few minutes of that game at Croke Park, and it was just what naturally happens. All the websites go, perfect, let's just plug into the local radio station. I bet they lost. And the two boys from Australia, I can't remember their names, with the Tashas, you know, that they do the lip syncing of the commentaries. Yeah, they did. That was their Gaelic football moment, was doing the video of the last few minutes of Galway in Dublin with Ollie's commentary over it as well. So, well, congrats to Owen, and congrats to the show as well for winning Sports Show of the Year. No great surprises that they both won. But Nathan did say to me last year, and that's the reason I asked if he was going to jump. I don't have to be humble, don't worry. I'm only a show adjacent now at this stage. I'm congratulating you. That's not true. He actually nudged me at one point when Station of the Year was coming up, which is the very last award that's given, and he was like, if Today FM win, the two of us are jumping up anyway. Which is why I'm surprised he didn't jump up with his new colleagues. Oh, there you go. Well, Newstalk won it last year, and it's always a great end to the night, I have to say, when you win Station of the Year, because no matter what came before, you end up on stage going, rah! I got a little bit rowdy, but we didn't win that particular gong this time. It was Today FM's, our sister station, or whatever they're described as. But look, it was a good night, as I said, and definitely tried to be. Look, the ultimate win is we won Sports Show. An off-the-ball presenter, one sports programme. That's kind of standard. But this year, unlike last year, I did not have wine all over my shirt at about after the starter of the meal, and then have to go all the way till the middle of the night with a massive pink white shirt. My tuxedo is ready to be brought back to the shop, fully, absolute, as clean as can be. Actually, it's a shocker. Did you post it in through the post box last year and just hope for the best? No, I went in and explained myself and apologised and offered to pay for it, but they weren't having it at the amazing Tango's dress hire. That was incredibly sound of them. They are incredibly sound. And they had no qualms about actually giving you none of us mentioned it in the negotiations this year. I had a feeling down the back of that tuxedo shop there's going to be a picture of Michael Murphy, which is do not do business with this man. Michael Murphy, that's the second. Why have I called you Michael Murphy? I don't know, but Steve will call me Michael Murphy last week, when I was doing a report from the NFL game, and he was doing commentary on whatever game they were doing, and I did a kind of report at the full time, and he goes, right over to Croke Park with Michael Murphy, and then you just called me that as well. What's wrong with you all? I don't know. Michael Murphy's obviously thinking about his tux for the All-Stars coming up in a few weeks' time in November as well. The presenter or the Donegal footballer? Donegal footballer was what was in my mind. Sorry. No, I'm not sure why. Go on. All-Star season. I don't know. Look, it was a good weekend of football as well. Sean, we'll get into the GAA with you in a little bit, but Premier League, even though we didn't have big scorelines at the weekend, again, we had a shed load of late goals, and we've got an Arsenal team who now potentially could finally deliver after all this talk about Arteta and getting over the line, could maybe win the Premier League at last. Yeah, absolutely, and I think he's been there. It was a 300 game on the weekend. Only Pep Guardiola, Jose Mourinho and Kenny Dalglish have had more wins in their first 300 games as a manager of a top-flight English club than Mikel Arteta. Saturday's 2-0 win over West Ham saw him bring up his 177th victory as Arsenal boss, and he also joined Jurgen Klopp on that number after 300 games. Arteta's side go into the international break on top of the Premier League table, 1 point above champions Liverpool. Arteta was speaking post-match on Saturday about bringing up 300 games. Well, very proud is a big number for this football club. I want to thank you, everybody, especially my coaching staff that they've been with me since day one, and without them, it's impossible to, first of all, to do the job, and secondly, to enjoy it. So I know that I have the best people in the world around me, and after all, the players and the staff that they've been since day one, supporting,
helping me to be a better coach, to learn from them, to inspire me, and to enjoy the good moments as well. So I wanted to celebrate it with a win. I've got it. Now we have the international break to enjoy it and use the time as well to prepare, because what's coming in the next break is going to be really difficult again.
Well, it was a bruising week or so for Liverpool, who suffered back-to-back league defeats as well as being beaten in Europe by Galatasaray.
All right. I have a text in here, by the way, 087 918 180 if you want to WhatsApp us, 53106 if you want to text, or if you're Michael Murphy's wife, you just text me directly.
Michael Murphy, you just called me again.
Yeah, no, but there's a whole thing to this. Sue says that Mick should have had to take her name when they got married, and then he would be Michael Murphy.
Okay, well, that I didn't, so I'm still Michael McCarthy.
Yeah, alas.
There you go. She didn't take my name either, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
By the way, just the Arteta stat, right? It's obviously 177 wins from 300 games is pretty impressive. I don't just say this as my usual Aston Villa bias, but Unai Emery got 80 wins in charge of Aston Villa at the weekend. He was the fastest by 15 games to spare of any Villa manager. But he's done it in 150 games, which would translate to 160 in the 300, which is quite close. I know he's done well, and everybody's expected he's done well. But considering Arteta's who you put him in there with in terms of that achievement, I'm surprised. Even I, who worships the very ground that Unai Emery walks on, is surprised that he isn't that close to that kind of company.
That's very impressive. But also to go past, say, Aston Villa's European Cup winning managers and so on as well, like that is very, very effective.
Oh yeah, apparently. Yeah, so he had 15 games to spare in terms of the quickest to 80 wins, which I didn't know was a race until this weekend.
Right. I don't think it ever was a race.
No, exactly.
The Newsround, by the way, here on Off the Ball is with thanks to UPMC Sports Surgery Clinic. When things don't move, rotate or bend like they used to, you can choose us to help you get back in line again. So we've been talking about the Premier League games of the weekend. The Republic of Ireland squad as well meeting up, Sean. What is the news as they start to filter into camp?
Well, it is a do-or-die week for the boys in green this week. The Irish side face an uphill task to qualify for next year's World Cup, having collected only 1 point from their first 2 matches last month. Preparations are underway for Saturday's World Cup qualifier away to Portugal, while the boys in green will then host Armenia next Tuesday. Speaking last week at his squad announcement, Heimer Hallgrimsson was asked about the pressure he's under after the disappointing defeat to Armenia last time out.
I'm okay. This is the life. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, and you just need to adapt to whatever mood there is and keep on your job. The thing is that we've had a project in our hands. We were feeling really good with it until Armenia. So should we make one game affect what we are doing and how we are working? Absolutely not. We continue to have belief in the squad, and we'll continue with our work.
Elsewhere, PSG's João Neves has been ruled out of Portugal's squad for Saturday's clash in Lisbon.
Yeah, that's probably good news for the Ireland camp, but generally they've got quite a few other good players, Mick. They'll be okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about the quality of the Portuguese. It's more what kind of attitude can we catch them on the day and so on. Maybe they'll be a little bit more complacent and arrogant now because of our performance against Armenia and our place in the group.
The ultimate rope-a-dope. You go and lose in Yerevan and then
win in Lisbon.
Too cocky, yeah.
Well, look, let's just say we'll forgive Yerevan if we win in Lisbon. Is Evan Ferguson out, do we think? Like, I know there's no...
So I was reading the Roma quotes after the game yesterday, because everyone was getting concerned where it went. There's a couple of games where Evan Ferguson hasn't played. And it was an ankle injury, apparently. It wasn't enough to keep him out of the matchday squad, but it meant that he got limited game time between last Thursday and Sunday. So he's a concern. But I'm presuming he is going to at least link up with the squad anyway.
I believe so. That's the idea at the moment. And obviously we've had the issues with Troy Parrott in the past. We actually haven't probably seen the best of Parrott and Ferguson together.
Yeah, we want to talk Scottish football later on this week because Celtic have been indifferent. For Rangers, they've now got to get new management. So that is why Stephen Gerrard is back in the sports news today.
Yeah, Stephen Gerrard is being linked with a return as Rangers manager following the departure of Russell Martin. Yesterday, the former Scottish international was sacked last night after just 17 games in charge with the club, and he leaves them currently 8th in the Scottish Premiership table. Gerrard guided Rangers to the league title in 2021 before leaving to take charge of Aston Villa. The 45-year-old's last post was with Saudi Arabian club Al Ittihad, where he left by mutual consent back in January. The Glasgow club are searching for their 5th permanent manager in just 3 years.
Mick, what's your expert opinion on Stephen Gerrard as a former Aston Villa boss?
Well, he was terrible at Villa, but he could do a good job at Rangers. He has before. He's obviously the only manager that's brought him to the title in, under their new administration. And
delicately put.
yeah, the current club of Rangers FC. Yeah, look, I mean, I think Gerrard brings you certain things that I think might be suited for a club that has the sort of advantages that Rangers have in Scotland, but they've a long way back. Like, there's a bit of a full-on rebuilding project there that's needed. Like, they've one win so far this season. It was a last-second goal against Livingston, and then like to follow that up with losing in the Europa League again, grand. But then even to go and kind of like, get an away draw at Falkirk. Like, they're playing against teams that, if one of them drew with them in any normal season, would be headline news as a kind of a one-off anomaly. And instead it's happening to them constantly. Like, they're absolutely awful. Gerrard, there'll be different arguments about Gerrard and points totals and who he brought into the club and so on. I think if you talk to any Villa fan that would have been watching him week in, week out and listening to the manager, there was sort of he, like so many great players, seems to expect, he was a player of magic moments and scoring 25-yard equalisers and winners in the last minute, and his analysis of games seemed to be demanding that players provide a bit of magic. It just never seemed like there was any kind of real coaching or tactics or momentum to what he was doing and bringing players along, and eventually it all just went wrong. So once that sort of stuff runs out and I think players start to see through you, there's no way back then, because you don't have the stuff.
It's funny if you compare Lampard and Gerrard. Frank Lampard is absolutely flying with Coventry at the moment in the Championship, but when Gerrard was winning the league title, it was always that Gerrard was sort of the next one off the rank, ahead of the likes of Frank Lampard. So Gerrard's been away in Saudi Arabia for a couple of years, so if he does return to Rangers, would he have that same effect as he had when he won the league title? But Rangers just seems like an absolute basket case at the moment. The scenes are full time in Falkirk yesterday, where the Rangers fans were sort of barricading the bus in, and Russell Martin had to get an escort across.
A police escort from an away game.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, he didn't get on the bus then, he went in a different car. Like, it was a very strange thing. Like, yeah, but like, I mean, that's so stupid. It takes away from the fun of even having a bit of fun about Rangers or about Russell Martin, or because ultimately behind it all, he's just a football manager, and he's made a bit of a balls of a job. You know what I mean? And then you see him actually being like scared for his safety. Yeah. So ridiculous, Yeah. Just going back on the Lampard thing. Lampard's interesting. Like, Coventry are absolutely flying. They went 5-0 at the weekend, I think, did they?
But they're scoring goals for fun.
And I think there might be a discussion worth having about Lampard, because obviously he's, he lampooned figure a little bit for his management and all, but I remember when he took the Coventry job being sort of saying, like, why is he doing this? You know what I mean? It's just not going, like, he'd done so much in football. He's probably made so much money, and he has so many opportunities to do other things, even if it's just punditry, but I'm sure other things as well. It's like, why is he putting them through? Going to Coventry now and trying to rebuild that in after already doing it, with Derby, and then having his chance at Chelsea, failing at Everton, failing a second time at Chelsea, which was a bit random. And then, and I was like, why is he? And you know what? He's actually... there's a sense of him maybe learning his trade and having the kind of humility to do that you wouldn't associate with Lampard at all.
Yeah. And
I know Coventry's a decent situation. They were a playoff final away from getting promoted 2 years ago and so on, and they kind of inexplicably sacked their manager and Mark Robbins, but at the same time, it still was a drop down, and he was willing to do it. I don't know if Gerrard's willing to do that.
Well, I think the Coventry fans would have been sceptical of Lampard coming in.
Definitely, and rightly so.
Because of replacing Robbins as well. He was just an absolute cult hero there. So what he's done, Frank Lampard, because you can look at that twofold. You can say, well, Robbins left him in a brilliant position, but he also had to go into that dressing room who were so sort of set in their ways with Robin. So it's sort of an interesting one to watch this year. Frank Lampard can get Coventry into the Premier League. It'd be an unbelievable story.
Yeah, and I think we all fall into a trap as well, which is we look at this through the prism of, will this mean that Frank Lampard gets a bigger job? There is a possibility that Frank Lampard might be a good manager at a level, and therefore it's not about him being at one of the top clubs, and he could still be very, very effective indeed. Now, we had some very sad news in the world of rugby earlier today, Sean, as well.
Yeah, former England rugby captain Lewis Moody has revealed he's been diagnosed with motor neurons disease. Moody was a part of the 2003 Rugby World Cup winning England side and lifted multiple European titles with Leicester. The 47-year-old has admitted he cannot yet face the full implications of the muscle wasting condition that killed fellow rugby players Doddy Weir and Rob Burrow. Alongside his wife Annie, he spoke about his diagnosis to the BBC's Sally Nugent.
We processed lots of emotions over the last couple of weeks. And I suppose when you talk about it, and I generally feel fine when you talk about it, it's never me that I feel sad for. It's the sort of sadness around having to tell my mum, as an only child, and the implications that has for her. Having to tell the boys, two brilliant boys, and that was pretty heartbreaking, wasn't it? But I don't want to get stuck in the negativity or the doom and gloom, and we know the reality. Sally, you know it. You've spoken to so many people about this, haven't you? And so I just want to stay positive. Yeah, the future's uncertain at the minute, I suppose, isn't it? So that's why we're just focused on now.
Well, Connacht head coach Stuart Lancaster was on media duties today, and he paid tribute to Moody's bravery.
One of the most respected players that England's ever produced. His commitment to the game, what he gave as a captain of England. And it's one of those moments where, I saw it first thing this morning. It really makes you takes you back. And then you read the headline and then you listen to the interview, and the mental toughness shown by him and his wife, and I'm sure his children, I thought was incredible, considering this diagnosis was, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's tough to listen to, Mick. I saw a clip of that BBC interview earlier today, and we kind of forget with sports people as well, because we view them as, for me, I see him as World Cup hero and that kind of era with England. And then you hear the natural thing, which is, this is so hard to break this news to my kids, and it just brings home the humanity of it all as well.
Yeah, it's just so really desperately sad. Like Stuart Lancaster just kind of said there about it, it just being a couple of weeks ago and the bravery shown and stuff like that. You can hear in that interview, you almost question that it was a little bit soon, because, you can hear the emotion and, dare I say, fear that's in there a little bit. And God, it's an awful thing, and an awful thing to have to deal with. And the one thing I'd say, you mentioned Rob Burrow and Doddy Weir there, both of them did so much with the awful situation they were in. And it does seem like Lewis Moody is sort of taking on that already, and it's an awful thing that he has to do it, but it does so much good as well. Both of those men did so much for that cause and raised so much awareness. Yeah, and it's just it's really hard to believe that rugby's been hit with another person so young. Yeah.
I think towards the end of Rob Burrow's fundraising, it went over the £10 million mark, which is a huge amount of money, quite aside from the awareness that's raised about the disease as well, for motor neuron disease treatment, and for also some families who've been affected by it as well. So a lot of good can come from this. And Kevin Sinfield was saying earlier today that he wants to try and help out in a similar way if Moody wants to do something similar. So we shall see over the next while, but very, very sad news for the Moody family there. When it comes to matters on the field as well, James Lowe, speaking to the media earlier today after Leinster's, I would say, very poor start to the season.
Well, James Lowe says it's been a disappointing last few weeks for Leinster. The British and Irish Lion watched on from Dublin as Leinster began their URC title defence with back-to-back defeats in South Africa. They were beaten 35-0 in their opening game to the Stormers and 39-31 defeat to the Bulls on Saturday. It's the first time since 2003 that the province has started their season with consecutive defeats, and Lowe was asked at today's press conference for his thoughts on Leinster's slow start to the season.
Yeah, we normally only lose a couple in the old regular season, so to get them out of the way first isn't good now, is it? Look, obviously the boys, they're just back in the building, obviously very disappointing last couple of weeks, but I think there's a few boys hopefully coming back into the mix, and going forward we can, help them out. We'll give them a cuddle for a couple of days, but then after that it's business as usual. There'll be a fair few more South Africans lining up. There's a bit of blood in the water, so hopefully we can turn it around and put in a performance at home that we're really happy with, and it can set us right for the rest of this competition.
Monday Night Rugby coming up in just over half an hour's time. Mike Sherry, Fiona Hayes are going to be with me. A decent start for Clinton Macmillan with Munster, 2 wins in a row. Leinster bringing just 1 point back from their tour of South Africa, so they'll break down the weekend's action. We'll talk about the Rugby Championship as well, where South Africa won the title on score difference on the final day in Twickenham, because Argentina gave up a home game to play there, which was a little bit bonkers too, but a good weekend of rugby just gone. Gaelic Games, we're into county final season. We know the county final lineup, Sean, for Dublin in the football, and ultimately the All-Ireland football champions are out.
Well, Coola have been dethroned. Ballybowden came from 7 points down in the last 10 minutes to edge out Coola and book their place in the Dublin Senior Football Final yesterday. 2 goals from the impressive Dara Sweeney, the second of which came in injury time, broke Coola hearts and ended their reign as county champions. It finished 3-21 to 2-22. It was a Sunday of high drama in Parnell Park as Nafina and Kilmacud Crokes played out a classic as well. Nafina captain James Doran's point and stoppage time was the difference between the sides. It finished there 3 goals and 11 points for Nafina to 1 goal and 16 for Kilmacud Crokes. Shane Walsh hit 111 in a losing effort for Kilmacud. The Gas-Leven club now are into a final and go in search of a first Dublin Senior Football title since 2001. Nafina, who are the reigning All-Ireland hurling champions, will face Kilmacud Crokes again next Sunday, this time in the semi-final of the Senior Hurling Championships. So it's Ballybowden St. Dendas against Nafina in the Dublin Senior Football Final.
And Kilmacud maybe own Nafina one for the way the final finished last year. You were at these 2 very good quality semi-finals, by the sound.
2 brilliant games, absolutely. And I think we've spoken about the new rules and mainly in relation to the inter-county game, but I've watched some club games over the last couple of years in Parnell Park, and I think those 2 games yesterday were 2 of the best games I've seen for a long time. The use of the kick pass was so prevalent, even in a day of really difficult conditions. It was quite windy in Parnell yesterday, and just some of the scores that were on show were sort of exhibition stuff. Shane Walsh had a couple, Conor Callaghan had a few, Dara Sweeney was outstanding for Ballybowden. It was just 2 brilliant games, and if you were like me and you paid your 15 quid in or whatever it was, you got really good excitement out of it.
It's very rare that a player on the losing team gets a mention like that with Shane Walsh, but you said he kicked a particularly cracking score during the game as well.
Yeah, in the first half. Now, he had the win, but he kind of picked the ball up just short of the 45 and from about 50 yards out, just clipped one over so effortlessly, and it was just one of those points you just went to I was saying to the person next to me, I was just like, that was unbelievable. That was worth the trip over alone.
On the weekend that the new rules have been ratified, I know it hasn't been the greatest couple of days for Mr. Jim Gavin, but
Fitzmaurice got the 62 through,
but at the same time, like they're ratified, and I think those 2 games I only saw highlights of them, unlike Sean, but like the back to front nature is just something that's just been totally lost to Gaelic football over the past decade and a half, and it looks so exciting. And like, it's not only that, but the rules are never going to be perfect, but they're there to facilitate a game that can be good, not that will always be good. And I think the game can be good now in a way it probably wasn't before.
And even the first game, Kilmacud Crokes and Nafina, was played at such a pace, you were kind of going, and there was a bit of a gap between the 2 games starting. You're like, oh, maybe the second game won't have the same pace, but it was every way quicker than the first game. It was just outstanding. The quality of player on show, I mean, the Dublin Club Championship is lucky in that regard, but 2 brilliant games.
Just to finish out, because we're going to have James Pearce with us in a few minutes from the Elite to talk about Liverpool, but Shane O'Donnell in the programme for the Clare Senior Hurling Final said his biggest achievement in hurling until yesterday was winning an under 15B title with Éire Óg before. He now has a senior medal to go with it as well.
He does, and they've ended a 35-year wait to be Clare County champions. Danny Russell was the only player on the Éire Óg squad to have been born the last time they were champions back in 1990, but that finally changed after they beat Clooney Quinn by 17 points to 12 yesterday in Park Cusack. Shane O'Donnell hit 2 points and his Clare teammate David Reedy hit 4 as the Ennis club became county champions and got their hands on the famed Canon Hamilton Cup. A historic double remains on the cards for the club as they contest the football county final next Sunday against neighbours St Joseph's Dora Bearfield.
Cracking time for Éire Óg, first title since 1990 when a lot of their players weren't even born at that point. Okay, James Pearce is going to be with us. Sean, thanks a million for joining us. Sean's going to keep us up to speed with the sports news for the rest of the night here on News Talk as well. Mick will be back with me a little later on. We're going to chat about the GAA and a bit on the football show as well. But now it is time for the cash machine.
News Talk's cash machine.
Well, another week and another huge amount to be won on the cash machine this coming Friday. The all-important number that you need to know right now is €100,000 exactly. The big news as well is that this week we're going to have 2 winners, and there are also 2 ways you can enter now. You can visit newstalk.com/cash machine, where you can enter online, or if you want to play the old way, text play to 57557. That is 57557. Your entry needs to be in by 3 p.m. on Friday. Then across the Go Loud network of stations, 2 people will be getting the very important call this time round. If your phone rings, answer within 5 rings and give us this exact amount in euro and cent, and